Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everyone? Let's get into this. This is take two. This is take two of my Monday morning podcast because it didn't upload on YouTube again. And I actually don't even know what's going on. I don't even know why it didn't. Like, most of the time I don't even know why, because I'm not like good at this stuff. I'm not good at this this tech stuff. I know how to upload something, but not when it comes to like the wrong format or wrong sizing or wrong, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what all of that stuff means. And yeah, so for some reason it didn't upload, and then it was saying because the video wasn't compatible or whatever. And it's not like I try and do anything different. I just do the same thing the whole time, all the time, and for some reason this time it didn't work. So I'm doing this again. So this is take two, part two. And obviously I'm going to talk about rugby and first thing, because that's what it's about. But there are other things that I want to kind of talk about that it's got nothing to do with rugby. For one, my Chargers won, and yes, I was watching that game. My Georgia Bulldogs won, my Penn State won as well, the All Blacks won, which was such a stupid game. I don't even care what anybody says. Like, that, to me, that's not clinical. To me, they just weren't playing rugby. To me, they just didn't want to lose by a lot. And they kind of weren't even playing to win. I thought that they were just playing not to be scored on, not to have a massive score scored against them. You know, and the try that we set up right within the first 2 minutes or whatever it was, that was kind of going to be the flow of the game before they put up 120 box kicks. You know, like, and even when they scored on us, was probably one of the worst games George Bridge ever played. I mean, even the All Blacks as a whole was pretty bad. Like, it was such a dumb game, so boring, so slow. You know, 97 injury stops. You know, it was just that kind of game. It was so frustrating too, you know, like, and yeah, because I always go on the Springbok page too. Like, you know, I always go on there and I kind of read everyone's comments, and there were the diehard guys that said it was a great. Like, one guy said it was like one of the greatest test matches ever. I was thinking, according to who? Like, according to what? What are you comparing it against? Because we've had some mean ones against the Springbok. Like, I think one of the ones in Hamilton here was one of the coolest ones that I've seen. Where they won, I think it was. Where they won. What was it, like 5 years ago or something? But, I mean, like, some of them were just going, the Springboks should have won. They played great. And they were saying, oh, it's such a clinical game. They played such a great game plan. I was saying, great. I was thinking, really? That's what you think great rugby is? Like, your expectation of great rugby is get into our 22 and then box it, you know, like box kick. And it was funny too, because, like, you know, you're like listening to the commentators, and then they said, what's his name, the centre, the black dude, they said his name, and he goes, oh, I think this is like the first time I've said his name, and like we had just started, it was like 15 minutes into the second half. It was like, yeah, it was because it's like they never even got past 3 phases. That's kind of how terrible their rugby was. So boring. And it makes it worse that they lost with such a terrible game plan. Like, I understand their game plan if they did it and then got into a position of attack like they did. They did a lot. They got into a lot of positions of attack. And then they bomb it again. They just box kick it. You know, like, if you look at, like, Faf and even, like, Andre Pollard, like, even Montpellier, like, those guys, like, think if Colby was playing too. And that was the game plan. And telling him to go and chase bombs, he'll be like, bro, what? Just give me the ball, man. Even Mon Pepe is like kind of the same too. It's like, give him the ball. Hell, if they were our wingers, would just give them the ball. Their game plan would be like chase a box kick. It's like, see how many box kicks you... And then like, and the other thing is that they weren't competing to catch it. They were just competing to knock it back. So either way, if we knocked it on or either if they knocked it back, it still goes their way. Which became real bad because they weren't even good at doing that. I mean, like when Van Meulen went up too and got nowhere near it, and he kind of like closed his eyes and like hit the, like went like this to like swipe the ball back or something. It was just like, bro, these are not rugby competing moves, which is what I was just like the other thing that I kind of struggled with. You know, and you kind of think that like that was a desperation game plan to me. It kind of just looked like a desperation game plan. Didn't look like one that they wanted to win. It just looked like one that would disrupt whatever we were doing. And if they scored some points out of it, then it was kind of like, okay, cool, that's great. We scored some points out of it. But if they didn't, then they're like, we'll just try it again and see if it can work again. And, you know, after Faf, you know, box kicked it for the 82nd time, you're just like, man, this must be embarrassing. This must feel embarrassing to them. And like the worst thing is that their forwards had it over us. Their forwards were winning over us. They were overpowering us. To me, they were overpowering it. We couldn't really do that much in the forwards as a compressed forward pack. But other than that, like, I just thought, like, you guys have a forward pack, have great backs, and then this is the game plan that you guys come up with? You're, like, so scared of our running rugby that you guys couldn't come up with your own that was be able to, like, I guess, counteract that? But your counteract is 145 box kicks? You know, it's so strange to me. It was really bad. It wasn't even strange, it was just bad. It was like bad rugby, bad sportsmanship in the way that rugby should be played. You know, like, I guess it would be like cricket, and you just, I don't know, you batted first and then you just rolled the ball along the ground for how many overs that you have to, you know, for the next 50 overs, 100 overs, or whatever you want to do, just so you're like, oh, we're not going to lose. You guys just trying to have to hit off the ground, or like, you know, just do like a little bounce like that and just have a little bounce and like roll, you know. It's like, just so that you don't lose, you know, it's like that kind of stuff. I just thought it was so silly. And it just became one of the boring, for the 100th Test match, it became the most boring, that's what it's going to be remembered for, is the most boring game. So I hope this week's going to be better. All Blacks still my favourite team. My Chargers one, I like to talk about my Chargers because the Chargers beat the Chiefs. Chiefs lost 2 in a row, which is great to me. Playing really good. Keelan Allen, obviously, playing real good. Joey Bosa's finally playing good. Defense is on pack. Winning the way that we won. We need to change our kicker because he's useless. Missed 2 kicks. Useless guy. Ugh. And it's funny too because like kickers in the NFL, man, are like, you can have a job one week and then the next week you won't have a job. Ruthless as. You know, like you could get paid like $80,000 for a game and then get fired the next week because you missed a kick. Which is understandable. Like, it is understandable, you know. Even like Justin Tucker, like kicking that kick, was it like 66 yards or something like that. It was cool in context of it, but it was like, I think our guys do that a lot. Not at that, but like more lengthy kicks than what they do, you know. But it's not like they can just, they can't kick from anywhere else. It's just the play that they have is that's how it is. Like, they can do corner kicks if they wanted to. Like, if you just let them kick like rugby players would kick, they can line those up and kick them. It's not that they can't, it's just that it's just not part of the game. You know, you don't take your, you know, the line of scrimmage doesn't stretch out to, you know, the ball doesn't get placed out on, you know, the sort of the hashes out there. So it's just not that kind of thing. The other thing I like too was like just moving on, obviously because my team's all one, but I tend to agree with Dan Hooker. You know, like I tend to agree with him and Izzy, and there has to be, and because it's not just them. Like I don't think they're just even just talking for them. They're just talking about everybody. Like I feel like it's everybody, even the golfers that we have. You know, what's his name? The guy playing squash. You know, I see. You know him. If he wanted to come back, like he just couldn't. You know, there's just not space reserved. But I feel like there should be space reserved for guys. I mean, especially athletes. I think all our athletes should have, you know, MIQ, like space reserved for them. Like there should be an allocated thing for them because there is no other way of them working somewhere else. Like they can't do their job over Skype. Like there's no fighting over Skype. You know, when you're in the UFC, you can't. It's just not possible. But I mean, like people that have to work for their livelihood have to work overseas. Like I feel like there should be something done for them. I mean, I know it's not like an easy thing to organize because it must not be. It must not be that easy just to organize something like that. But I think I'm just like everybody else. Is like the system's got to be a bit different. Like I'm sure you guys got some smart people working on it, but it can't just be allocated to, you know, the All Blacks, who I still love to this day, still the best team, but there has to be something done for those guys too that have to work. Like even Ryan Fox and that, like, and Lydia Ko, if they wanted to come home, that they have a spot that they can come home to, and have space that they can come home to. And I'm not talking about, you know, and I'm not like, I'm just talking about sportsmen alone because that's what I talk about, sports, and that's what I'm just talking about, is just sports, not other people. But I mean, like other workers that have to work outside, like give them spots too. Like if you're not like an oil rigger or something like that, you know, give them those spots. Not those guys that just, you know, go to Australia, then come back for 2 weeks, and go back 1 week, come back another week, come back, you know, that stuff. To me, I feel like that's a bit different. I don't know. I feel like that's just different. But guys that are going to be a long way, you know, away for like 3 months and then come back, is like, I feel like there should be some kind of exemption for that kind of stuff. You know, Dan Hooker's kind of the same. It's just like, if you need to leave early. But now we've got guys that, now we've got these athletes and all these guys that have been training and their dream to get to the UFC, and I'm just talking about UFC for now. All these guys that are part of that gym, that have been training with Izzy and Dan and Kai and all these guys. They've been training there, preparing themselves to try and get a contract. But now that you've done that to those guys and to the gym, I feel like they're gonna miss out on a lot more opportunities of fighters coming out of there. You know, of fighters being able to at least prepare and prove themselves to be able to get an opportunity to get a job with the UFC. And I mean, I think if it was boxing as well, I feel like it would be the same thing. Like Junior Farr and Joseph Parker had boxing gyms that they had the same kind of thing going, where they wanted to get all these boxers ready, and they were true and honest prospects. That kind of thing, I would at least have a conversation or look at a way of getting them ready. And I mean true and honest prospects, not a guy that's like been, you know, training for 6 months and he's just like, oh, I'm like pretty serious about this, and it's like, yeah, that's different. It's like, you haven't got anything yet. I'm talking about guys who've been training for 4 years, and guys that have actually got fights lined up for that are potential earners for them. That kind of thing is what I'm talking about. But I give it up to like Dan Hooker and his fight was good too, man. Shoot, for a guy that just got through circumstance, and you know, getting his visa, cutting weight on the plane, you know, that kind of stuff, going away and underweight. You know, he was there and he prepared. Like, he did so good, and then just the way that he even just attacked. He was always the aggressor. You know, keeping him at distance. He ate a couple of shots too, but it was just he fell on his back foot and then came forward again and just kept that pressure on the whole fight. He just kept that pressure on. That's what I liked about him, and got in some massive knees. Like, I was watching him knee his thigh, and he had him up against the cage, even on his ass. He was just like putting these big ass knees, and I was thinking, damn, he's gonna be sore tomorrow. That dude have these big massive welts on his thighs and legs and stuff. I think, oh. But he fought good. Like, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like something needs to be done for like those kind of circumstances. And I'm all for, masks and shutdowns and keeping everybody safe and that kind of stuff. But I think those circumstances are different. It's not about, well, I have a job and he has a job. Like, why is that different? It's like, because you can do your job here. We're just shutting it down. That's the difference between me. Like what I mean by one guy's job and another guy's job. It's not about money earning or anything like that. It's like, he can't actually do his job here. You can't virtual fight each other and then see who wins. In the truest sense. It's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. But I thought the games in the weekend, I thought like I guess at this point in time in the year, the 3 games that we watched, and I guess the quality of team and guys that are hitting it, and this is kind of why I wanted to see like at least a semi-finals, the Auckland semi-finals, because, seeing Hastings, Napier, Nelson, Otago, and also Silverstream and Scots, and how good all 6 teams played, how good all 3 games were. I want to see Kelston Mags and St. Peter's Kings and see a final. I want to be able to see what these guys are at the peak of the season, because you got to get all these cold boobs out in the preseason and then start trying to test your game plan to see if it works, and the health of the players and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. And then we get to this part of the season, and then everyone's supposed to be in peak form and peak position where they can perform the best, and that's kind of what you saw with the 3 games that we watched. And so I'm kind of curious of like, well, Kelston and Mags will still be a great game. Even St. Peter's and King's College will still be a great game, and then have a final. And like, obviously they've already called the winners and whatever, maybe a bit prematurely, because I feel like you can still have games, even if it was in the stadiums. No spectators, have some cameras there, just to film it and live stream it, something like that. But I just thought they caught it off too early. But I mean, it's just the way it is. But I think the winners were fair. I think they actually played like they were the aggressors and the dominant team. Like, if you watch that the Napier and Hastings one, it's actually the best I've seen Napier play this whole season. They had a massive game, which was a massive preseason against Mags, where they tore them up, and that was probably one of the best games that I'd seen them so far. And then it's like they had a great game against Palmy last week and sort of found their feet again, and then they performed awesome against Hastings boys. And it's the first time I've actually seen Hastings boys get dominated, even more so than what Hamilton did. Like, that forward pack that I saw Napier, the Napier forward pack that I saw play, they played better than the forward pack of Hamilton and of Hastings that I've seen all year. Just so big, so physical, scrums were good. Their lineouts were also on point. They had a nice control. Like, Uffa really controlled it really good. Controlled a really good pace and did mix it up. And then they really just kept Hastings down in their, in their half. And I thought it was cool the way that it was done, because it's like they made sure that whatever happened, they always had a plan to turn something around. And even when Hastings started making ground and even got within their their half, even up against their line at one point, there was like a time when Napier just dug deep and their forwards really just controlled it. The forwards won the game for them. They really did. The Napier forwards really won the game for them. I was actually really impressed with Nick Enor. Was probably one of my favourite players on that day. Him and Gala Molisia took the brunt of the big run-ups. Obviously, Max did his thing. Gus was also good. Jared Martin I really liked as well. Just the way that those guys played, and it was just a lot of physical stuff, just a lot of physical play. Really got into Hastings, and Hastings kind of didn't really have an answer in the forwards. They really didn't. They just didn't have, a reply to that and what they were trying to do. I think, but even like when Tasman and Tully came on as props for Napier, they also kept that same standard of physical play and toughness when Jared and Gus came off. Or was it Tyrone that came off? But, yeah, I think it was Tyrone that came off. And then I feel like they used that same energy that has been played all game within that forwards, and they really just matched it and started really making these big runs. And even off Nick's massive run as well, towards the end of the second half, where they got the win back, which pretty much set up the trial. I felt like it was kind of over for Hastings. I always felt like Hastings was playing from behind, and they just didn't have that same that same strike power. It was just kind of taken away with all the energy that they had to use on defense, because Napier were playing so physical and so strong that even like Cooper Flanders didn't really, like, even Kaiho played at 7, which was new, and his yellow card didn't help at all, but he was playing a new role in the team. And you could see him putting all his efforts into try be faster, try be quicker to the breakdowns, but it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working as well as it was with what's his name? Bessie was there with Bessie, because Bessie got injured in the last game against Lindisfarne, and it looked serious too because they had to change the fields. But it's just one of those kind of things where you're just like, man, like, I don't know how Hastings were going to do it. Avery wasn't playing his normal self. A1 wasn't playing his normal self. What's his name? Alan and Josh and the Locks kind of weren't the same. Backline wasn't the same either, and so it was really just hard. It was just a hard team to play against for Hastings, and Napier just played a mean game right from the kickoff. Right from the kickoff, went all the way down into that into like their 15-10 or something of Hastings, and they pretty much camped there for ages. Hastings didn't even score until the second half. Was it like 15 minutes into the second half? Was the only time was when they scored their first points. And then it was just all Napier again. And it was just a good game by Napier, and Napier come out of this the Hurricanes champions because Silverstream opted out of the Hurricanes champions, and then to play their Wellington final, which was, that's understandable, I think. I wonder if they're just going to put up a game against the two, Silverstream and Napier. Well, I mean, I guess you can't really. I think if anything, you would put Scots in. Because they drew in the finals, and Scots won the first game. So if anything, you'd probably put Scots through. If you're just going to take it out, like, if you go on those kind of, I guess, reasonings. But I mean, even that Scots game, like, I actually feel like Silverstream lost it for themselves. Silverstream was scoring so easy, like real easy tries there. And I've watched almost every single one of Scots College's games this year. And those first... Actually, the first half. I'm not even going to say like the first 20 minutes. The first half, I've never seen them play so bad before. Easy stuff. Easy tackles. Easy holes. It didn't look like they had the same kind of hunger to make tackles, to be involved, to, I guess, create opportunities, to sort of set something up, kind of when broken play goes down. You sort of just take the ball, hit it up a couple of times, take a couple of phases to get everyone realigned and then start working out what you want to do. And they didn't even look like they wanted to do that at all. And it was kind of strange too, because even... Meyer wasn't playing as well in that first half. He had a massive game overall, but in that first half, it just wasn't good at all. He wasn't playing good. Cody wasn't playing good. Tana wasn't playing good. Even Moody wasn't playing good. Yeti was okay, but just okay. And this was just in that first half, they just weren't getting anything. And it wasn't even that they were being out-muscled. To me, it just looked like the energy just wasn't the same. Like, their output of energy just wasn't the same. And for Silverstream on the other side, after like 3 tries, it was kind of like, let's ride this out. We've got this easy. And then they let Scots come back. Which was strange. To me, they let them come back. I think they left some points out there in terms of... I think they missed two kicks, a penalty and a conversion. I think that would have stretched the score out a little bit more. I actually think they could have nailed them in that first half even more than they did. And Silverstream were just... everything was just working around, but they were playing so well. They were playing so good for that first half. And once that second half started, that's where I felt like Scots really came back. And then it kind of just looked like they... I think they just went back into their normal, mode again, Because throughout the season, when they scored tries, Scots were like really... They were a really balanced team that played at speed, and they were all kind of on the same... They were all kind of on the same book and the same page. That even when guys wrapped around, doubled around, things like that, it just flowed, and everyone was just on par. But like this first half was just so uncharacteristic about this team as a whole, that I was surprised that even in the second half, they came back, but came back to the point where they started to lead. Like, that's what was so strange about it. It was like, Silverstream just went to sleep. Which is kind of what it was. They just went to sleep. And a lot of things that they were doing in the first half, they just couldn't do it. They just weren't able to do it, and it just got to them. And the way that Scots creeped their way back into it, it was impressive. It really was impressive, and it really was a good testament to that team and how they can pick themselves up. And I think it's like one of those things where you're like, well, Scots is kind of not like a team that you really want to play down the line, I guess, when you're... Because, like, they scored right at the end and he kicked it. Silverstream scored and kicked it to draw the game. And I guess that's a winning kick. I'm not sure how you would explain that. Would that be explaining it right? That you well, I guess you didn't lose, so you kicked to draw the game, sort of, in a way. But it was just one of those up and down games, and it was a good game to watch. I mean, but one of those game of two halves kind of situations, and it really did come off that way, and it really was surprising in a way that Silverstream did let them back into this game. And when I was watching the game, I kind of thought Silverstream were going to just up the ante on bullying them and just try and bully them even more. And really it was like kind of the complete opposite, where Silverstream just didn't... for a second, it kind of looked like they didn't... they weren't worried. There's no urgency in any of the things that they were doing anymore. And even in terms of their running and stuff like that, running hard and everything was effort. Like there was just no effort in that second half. And Scots College, really came back. Really came back. I think Nelson College and the Otago game was probably the other one that was kind of... See, I kind of, even though the score was that same, so Napier, the Napier and Hastings finished 14-10, and then Silverstream was 36-all, Silverstream and Scots, and then you had Nelson College and Otago boys was 27-19. And I kind of thought that Otago, that Nelson had the control over the whole game, but just weren't finishing off. They just weren't finishing those tries, those opportunities that they had. And it's kind of been consistent in the way that that Nelson is just a really grinded out team. And they grind it out and outwork, but they don't really heavily outscore a lot of teams like you kind of think that they would. With a big, massive forward pack like they do, you would think that they would just be a lot more dominant on the scoreboard. Like Ben Leafa played really good, and even Leppin played good. I really liked them. Even Dylan Irvine was good as well. But it's almost was probably a lot quieter than he usually is, and you'd think that will have a lot more runners and a lot more. Breaks out wide, sort of where they start attacking on the edge. You kind of was waiting for that, but it just didn't happen. It didn't really happen, but they were making some big, massive breaks. Like Will Thornley played really good. Him and Ollie Inch was also another good one that I really liked too in that game, and just really solid plays, solid games, solid runs, and I kind of feel like there was a lot of mess ups right at the end, because if you watch the game, it felt like it should have been Nelson scoring in the 30s. And Otago hitting 19, that's where kind of Nelson fell asleep on that penalty right in front, and then Finn just tapped it and gapped it and scored a try when everyone's backs were kind of turned and they weren't really paying attention to what was going on, and Finn just pretty much outthought all of them and just was quicker to the point where he made the score look a lot better, whereas it would have been a 27-12 thing. But I didn't feel like Nelson was losing any kind of control of that game. Otago just made them work really, really hard for it. It really was one of those situations when I was watching, it's just like, Nelson's winning, yeah, it's just like, but they're not winning easily. Everything was a work, everything was a workout just to get some points. And Otago made it so difficult for them to even score some points, even though they were making some really good breaks in that game. And there was heaps of situations where they were a 3-on-2. At one point there was a 4-on-2, and Nelson just couldn't capitalize on that kind of stuff. And Otago's defense really was just sort of desperation defense, and then they just got there and just made it work for them. But yeah, I thought those were the sort of like those kind of, those 3 games were as a whole actually made it better, because I was so flipping annoyed at the All Blacks. Those games actually made it better, made the weekend better. It was just such a good 3 games. A good 3 games over the weekend was solid. It was solid. It was really good rugby to watch. And congratulations to all of you guys that won and making it this far into the season. A lot of people have been asking me about what's happening with the rep teams, and again, I don't know. Like, they don't say anything, and I haven't really heard anything either, so I'm not too sure what's happening with that, and if things are even gonna, kick off with that stuff. But I don't know. A lot of people got annoyed at my write up on the coaches, and then getting opportunities to coach rep rugby, and especially at high school level. For some reason, they got annoyed. I'm not too sure why they got annoyed and why they thought it was like a personal attack at them, because I said first 15 coaches, and then other coaches that read my page from provinces and unions and stuff like that. They were like emailing me. It's just like, well, it's a change around thing, and if you a lot of first 15 coaches get found out that when it gets to rep rugby, that's too much for them, but they've only got 1 game to prove themselves. I was like, okay, that's okay, but a lot of people lose 1 games. I mean, what's his name was an All Black, and he coached them, and he lost against Australia. He didn't do too well. And he was a Super Rugby coach. You serious? And you don't think first 15 rugby coaches are that good? No, you gotta be kidding me. And it's not about money. One guy messaged me about money. He's like, if he wanted to be a professional coach, he would have moved on from that. I was just like, well, that's not what I'm saying. I said that first 15 coaches can be professional coaches. They can coach at that level. All I'm asking is, why can't they take care of the Blues, the Chiefs, the Hurricanes, the Highlanders, and the Crusaders under 18s? Why can't they be the coaching staffs for them? Why can't they be the coaching staffs for the New Zealand Barbarians and the New Zealand secondary schools? Why can't they be selected as coaches? Why can't they take the exact boys that are in the age group that they coach every single day and then coach them into reps? They do the same courses as everybody else. They get their coaching credits just like everybody else. Well, you just think because one is dedicated to Waikato rugby that they can't also do, New Zealand secondary schools? And you think they're better because one's a teacher or one's a principal or whatever, and the other one works for Waikato, that Waikato guy's better? Cut it out, pal. I don't care where you work for. Look at Aaron Major. You're saying he's not good enough when he just stepped down, when he just, was a Highlanders coach, and you're saying that he now as a first 15 coach is not better than an Otago under 19s coach? Come on, pal. At least know what you're talking about before you email me. Some guy's talking about some of these coaches that are in first 15 rugby that I talked about. And I was like, whoa. You don't know how good he can do. You don't know how many guys he's had under him that made New Zealand secondary schools that are now starting in club rugby as straight out of high school. You don't know these guys that they've had coaching and then gone straight into the NPC teams and starting and on the bench. But you were saying that the guy that prepared him to get into the next area, can't coach a New Zealand secondary school team, a Barbarians team, or any other region teams. And you think your argument is because, oh no, they choose their own because they go through extra. No, they don't. And this is the problem with some of you guys that work for New Zealand Rugby or work for the provinces, is that you guys think that I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't work in your guys' circles. But when you guys need help as a union or province or New Zealand Rugby, the first person you come back to is me and go, Herschel, how does this work? What do these guys feel like? What is the normal routine of these boys? Is this guy really good if we put him in this position? We're looking for a lock. Who do you know that would fit our thing? We're looking for a lock that looks, and this is how it was explained to me, right? This is how they come at me. When they need help, they say, Hirsch, we want a big Islander boy. We need him to be around 6'3", 6'4", something like, really good runner. You know, we don't mind if he's not great at lineouts, but we just need some kind of attacking guy. Do you know any kid that's out there? Those are the emails I get from people that work for New Zealand Rugby, that work in the union, and that work for the provinces. But instead of going to their own sources, they know that they're not as good as Herschel, so I'm just going to ask Herschel. And I'm fine with that, because I don't put their names out of the guys that I help. I don't put their names out of the guys that I help, but they understand that the resources that Herschel has are different from the ones that we have. And whatever Herschel's doing is a lot better and in line with what we want than what our own guys are doing. So instead of going to our own guys, it's like, oh, we'll just ask Herschel. He doesn't care. He wants to help out the boys. So I'll just ask him, and then I'll go, oh, okay, just give me a day, and then I'll send you some stuff. And then they always ask for like character kids, and I always go, no. I've said, I'll give you some good character kids. I don't like dealing with kids that I know have bad character or that are sort of lazy at school or getting into trouble, getting into fights, and stuff like that. It's like, I just don't deal with those kind of kids because it doesn't translate the same when it goes into adulthood. It's just different. And so these are the kind of emails that I get. And then other guys in the union, in that same union or in that same province or in the same company of New Zealand Rugby, don't know that other guys are using me, and then they feel like they can email me and then speak for their province or speak for their region or speak for New Zealand Rugby Union when they don't know that the guy in the next cubicle is talking to me about, I need help. We need to fill in these spaces that we have. Do you have any guys that are from somewhere else that we don't know about? And I'll be, oh yeah, hold on, just give me a few seconds. Give me a day. Give me about 2 hours or something like that. And I'll have a bunch of names for you, and then you guys can go check them out, the guys that I have. And that's what I do. I say I would say, for instance, the example I gave, I'll be like, I said, here's 4 guys that fit the guys that you kind of want. And then I'll say, go and ask your coaches, go and get film. They should have some kind of film. And then let me know what you think. And some guys will come back and they go, we kind of like this. Can you switch it up? Is there anyone else better? And then I'll come back again. I'll go, okay, hold on. Let me think about these other guys that I have. And so that's how we work. But to say to me that I don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about coaches that I have watched over the years can't transition into club or professional or is ridiculous to me. It's so stupid that they think that they can't do it. And even the guys that I put on just as a sort of fantasy idea of like a coaching staff that I would like to see, they start picking at the names. I was just like, whoa, hold on. Put their credential down on what they've done in First 15 Rugby and the guys that they've mentored and trained in First 15 Rugby and see where they are now and tell me who you've done. Tell me who you've produced. Or did you just do the courses? No real other kind of, you didn't come up with your own strategy, which is the other kind of thing that pisses me off too, is that some of you guys that do these courses come out to me and go, hey, well, I got my, third certificate. I was like, yeah, F you, bro. I don't care what certificate you've got. You've got no vision. You just do exactly what they've told you to do. And which is like the wrong thing to do as well. They're not telling you do it this way. They're saying, at all these courses that you go to, this is what The general idea of it is modify it to your team and the talent that you have. Not do it this way. And I've seen coaches just do it exactly. I was like, hey, that's what I've seen on the tapes. Those are the things that I've been sent. You're doing it exactly the same way. Don't do it the same way. Modify it a bit to fit your team, to fit your program, to fit your game plan, to fit your system, to fit the way that you want to run your team, but they have no vision to do it. That's the problem with some of you guys out there. I'll be saying, oh, no, I got my ticket. I got my certification. I've done all the classes and I got it. It's like, I don't care. Because you're losing up here, cuz. That's the problem, yo. Yo, the problem is that you have no vision for any kind of game plan and how sports works. You're just doing what you're told by the guys that told you how to do it. You just do the same exact thing. And when it doesn't work, you're like wondering, oh, how do we fix this? Because like that's what they've told us to do. Looking back at your paper, it's like, no, yep, we're doing it right. I don't know why we're not winning. It's like, because the coach on the other side also knows the same thing, but that guy's got some vision and he's going, oh no, I just switched it up a bit because that doesn't really fit our thing. It's like, yeah, it's what you're supposed to do. But guy with the clipboard on the other side with his papers and the certificates ready to show people I've got my certificates, is like, I don't know what's wrong. We're doing it the right way. That's how they told me down there. So cut it out, bro. Come on. Have some vision about what you're doing, man. And it bugs me because I see so many coaches in first 15 rugby have so many different teams and different styles and different dynamics of their team. And then all of a sudden they come up with some winning seasons. They come up with some great players. They turn around some great players. They turn around some players that have changed physically and they've just taught them how to develop their mechanics again. Telling them, boy, you can't do it like that anymore. You're a bit taller. You can't do it like that. Shorten up your steps. Extend your arms a bit. Get a bit of timing to yourself. This is how you do it. I've seen coaches do stuff like that with players. And you think they can't do it with adults? You think they're not smart enough to work with adults? Guys who are already exactly what you know they're going to be? Which is the other thing I explained, that some of you clowns didn't even understand what I was saying, because I was saying that you may have a second five who's coming back next year and you go, oh, he's our second five, year 12, he'll be back year 13. He comes back and he's the size of a bloody number 8 and you're like, oh, okay. This is how we're going to play this. You don't get that. You don't get that in club rugby. Because what they are there is pretty much what they are. You don't have to figure out a different system around the guy because he's changed physically. Unless he's a big fatty like me and he loses 120 kgs and you're like, oh, shoot. But then that's different. Because he's got to sort that out himself. Kids don't know how to sort that stuff out. That's the difference. Is teaching a kid how to do that stuff. That's what I was saying. That's what a lot of you guys didn't get about first team coaches and how valuable they are and how high of a standard they are. That's why our kids are so bloody good in this country. Do you guys not get that? Do you not get that how much talent we have in this country, how much talent gets wasted because we don't have enough spaces, but they're convinced to stay. They're convinced to stay here. And the reason, a big massive reason why, is because we have really good coaches within the first 15 systems that when they leave school, they find out that it's like, oh shoot, this club rugby is kind of a bit easier sometimes. That's why some of our best high school teams play some club rugby teams and they win. I'm not talking about under 19s club rugby teams. I'm talking about the senior teams. And our boys win at first team because the coaches are so good. Why do you think the NRL signs our boys and say, oh, wait, you're playing first team? Stay there. Stay there till you're finished. Because we develop them better mental skills, better skill sets, better mechanics, better everything. They're taken care of in first 15 and they're at a higher level that when they go back to Australia and the NRL, they go, oh, cool, got our product. Thanks, first 15 rugby. That's what it is. But then for some of you fellas to come to me, right back to me and go, oh, well, like they haven't done this and they haven't done this. I say, That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they are not offering them the opportunity to do it. They haven't asked them to do it. They haven't put them in positions to do that. They've just automatically jumped to their guys and go, oh, we want to develop these guys. It's like, you're trying to develop those guys, but these guys are already set. They've been doing this for years. Why develop them? Why not give them an opportunity to branch out? That's my problem with it. And people struggle with the fact that I know so much about this, and pretty much everything that I say is right. At least 90% of it is right. 90% of it is close to being right there. But I've never been a rugby player before past first 15. I actually found a picture of myself too, playing against Tipene, or St. Stephen's College, which is used to be up near Tipene. But they used to be a big-ass Māori school as well, like Te Aute was back in the days, and they used to flip and tear up everybody. National championships a couple of times too, and I found a picture because I played against them in their last year of their 2000, I think was their last year. And I played against them in their last year as well. Have a very unflattering picture of myself as a prop. But, yeah, that was something that kind of bugged me. Bugged me because it was exactly what I was writing, and then I was proven right. The fact that they just got disrespected a lot. There was just so much disrespect for first team rugby. And maybe it needed to be said. Maybe it needed to be pointed out, you know. And one thing I'm looking at too is writing about the players that don't make it, the percentages of that don't make it, the bunch of boys within within the country, that how hard it actually is to make it into Super Rugby and into the All Blacks. Even to play one game of Super Rugby is pretty hard. It's pretty hard. It's not an easy thing to do. I give it up to anybody that plays even 1 or 2 games of Super Rugby, of Super Rugby, and because it's not an easy ask. It's not easy for guys to do that and to be able to stay at that level. I think that's one thing that people sort of forget is that playing one game or playing a few games, that's one thing and that's great. But then to stay at that level and to be such a high level player like that consistently is a really big ask mentally as well as physically. And then, that's kind of why, LeBron James pays so much to keep his body fit and keep his body intact and healthy, because of like the gruel and grind of the NBA and what it takes on you. And people may think, it's like, well, it's not rugby, it's soft. And I was like, yeah, but you're running on turf and grass, not on, hardwood floors and up and down, and you're not, 6'8" and jumping and dunking and, stuff like that. You're pretty much staying on the ground. Unless you're Geordie Barrett. But I mean, you don't jump everything. You don't play 82 games in a year. You don't do it for 19 years. You don't play in the playoffs and make this, the finals, 9 years in a row or whatever it is. But I don't want to get into this debate because I think LeBron's better than Michael James, and I've seen both of them. All that kind of stuff. But, yeah. What is it? What are we waiting for? We're waiting for, I want to get around to some rep games too. That's what I'm looking at. If there's any rep games that are around that I should probably go to, I'll probably start going to some rep games and, putting out some clips and photos and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm trying to be good and trying to obey the rules as well, because I don't want to, break the rules for people and stuff like that. So I'll always ask and see if I can attend, and if I am allowed to attend, then I will. But anyways, that's the Monday morning meeting for today. Send me your questions. I'll probably go Probably do a live. Like, people are still asking me to go live on IG. And maybe I'll bring on some. If you want to jump on and join me, have a conversation. If you want to ask me some questions, hit me up on IG. Probably, I don't know, I might do it tomorrow, which is Wednesday. I might do it on Wednesday. Maybe at night time, after all you kids have done your hours and stuff, and then so you guys don't get in trouble. Do your homework, do your exams, work hard. Make sure that you guys get all your credits for next year. Plan out all your stuff for next year. That's Herschel, High School Top 200. Peace.